So you're lost in the jungles of Papua New Guinea, and you forgot your toothbrush and everything else you use for personal grooming. Will you ever be clean again? Well, fortunately, the inhabitants of New Guinea overcame that problem long ago. So let's take a look at a few of the plants that they use to stay hygienic. So first one, this may be a familiar plant. You may know it as tea, good luck plant. Some people know it as Dracaena, though that's a mistake, different plant. But here they call it Tanget. It's native to here in Southeast Asia, but it was also pretty important in Polynesian culture, so they brought it wherever they colonized, and it's since kind of spread worldwide as an ornamental as well. These are also quite culturally important here as well, often being used, for instance, to mark boundaries and other things as well, but that's kind of a story for another day. But a practical hygienic use the Papua New Guineans found for this plant, especially the green ones, it can be used as soap, and it's actually quite simple to do. Now, I learned about this use for this plant from my host here in PNG, and I wasn't able to find any sources that talked about this use for it online, but it does seem that the leaves contain saponins, which are these chemicals that act as a detergent. So that's great for cleaning grease and dirt and stuff like that out of laundry, or just using it as a personal cleaner as well. The preparation is pretty simple. Just take some leaves and mash them in water, then wash stuff in the water. That's really all there is to it. And don't worry too much about accidentally killing these plants when taking leaves from them. These plants are known to be very hard to kill, which is why they use them as boundary markers. And if you can't find any Tanget, there are a few other plants that work as well, such as this soap tree here. I'm told it's not quite as effective as Tanget, but still pretty good, and the preparation is the same, though the leaves may be harder to reach. Just a little side fact about this one. This is one of the few trees around this area that flowers in May. So in May, when the bees are collecting nectar, this is one of their only sources, and just because of the coloring of it, it causes them to produce red honey. Something the beekeepers like around here is sort of a special type of honey. Perhaps unlike me, you can grow a beard that's worth something. Or you're just wanting to take care of your hair while you're in the bush or something, and you're thinking, I'll use coconut oil, only to find out that coconuts don't grow at this elevation. Well, fortunately, there's other big oily fruits out here, like this Marita. This is a very rich fruit, and very oily as well, and like a coconut, you can extract the oil from it and you get a oil that's solid at room temperature, though this one's also bright red. But it's useful for a lot of things: cooking, finishing wood, dyeing things. Traditionally, it was also used as a hair oil. So as long as you're okay with it coloring your hair, this can be a pretty good option for hair oil. Don't ask me how to use that. I've never used hair oil in my life. This is also a very tasty plant, and if you want to know more about that, I actually have a whole video on this one. Hygiene point number 3, tooth hygiene. Now, this may sound counterproductive from a tooth hygiene point of view, but one of the traditional tooth cleaners around here was sugarcane. Sugarcane is a grass, and like most or all grasses, a lot of the plant is made up of this indigestible cellulose. When sugarcane is processed commercially, the sugar is extracted from the indigestible fibers in the plant, and then the fibers are just thrown out. But if you have sugarcane itself and want to eat it straight, it's a lot simpler just to chew on the thing and suck out the sugar that way. And when you do that, you're left with a big mass of fibers, sort of like a really tough piece of celery. The jury's out a bit on whether chewing sugarcane actually causes more cavities than just not brushing. The evidence is a bit conflicting so far, but it does seem that chewing raw sugarcane doesn't cause cavities as much as pure sugar would. A few studies found no real difference between people who chewed sugarcane every day, generally workers in sugarcane fields, and those who didn't chew it at all. So probably not a full replacement for a toothbrush, but at the very least, chewing on those fibers will help get out the bigger stuff in your teeth, kind of like flossing. So that's worth something anyway. But it's worth bearing in mind that most sticks can be turned into a toothbrush if you chew the end a bit to separate the fibers, provided it's not a tree with poisonous bark or something like that, of course. Another thing some people did around here traditionally was use sand. Just rub some on your teeth and then rinse it out. Not the most pleasant sensation if you're not used to it, but it'll do in a pinch. Now, unless you live in one of the more extreme climates, chances are you've seen these before. It's a Coleus. They're native to this area between Southeast Asia, New Guinea, and Australia, but they're grown pretty much all over the world as annuals, even in colder climates. In fact, I remember this is one of the first plants that I ever planted as a young plant enthusiast back in Canada. They're really popular for their many colored leaves, and they come in a lot of different colors and a lot of different shapes. These ones are more frilly, those ones are more smooth leaved over there. But okay, so these good looking plants here, What are they used for? Well, if you guessed toilet paper, you'd be correct. I'm not demonstrating this one. Now here is luxury. Nice and soft, softer than most toilet papers, velvety, textured for extra scrubbing power, highly recommended. Now if you don't feel quite right using something as nice looking as Coleus for toilet paper, or you just can't find them, you can always use one of these bushes instead. It's also got nice big velvety leaves, and it's pretty common around the place too. But for me, given the option, I would probably take the Coleus, just because this one's also really great for attracting birds. And both this and the Coleus also work really well as a towel. So traditionally, if you saw someone walking towards the river or waterfall with a bundle of leaves from either of these plants, you know they're probably going to be going bathing. So you're lost in Papua New Guinea, but now you've got great hygiene. But you're still thinking, hey, I got lost with this other person over here, and I want to attract them with my smell. Classic. Well, don't worry, because I've got you covered. Now fortunately there's quite a number of plants you can use around here for that, but this one is easily my favorite, the Evodia, or as they call it here, the Malaria tree. Now don't let that name scare you away. They use this to treat malaria, not cause it, of course. But the leaves, when you break them, they give off a pretty strong anise or licorice smell. And as well as reportedly scaring away mosquitoes, it also smells pretty stellar. So this is pretty simple to use. Just take the leaves and crush them up, rub them on yourselves after or during a bath. Another thing you could do is steep them in hot water and then use that as part of the bathing liquid. But another thing people also did sometimes here was even just going about their daily life, putting some of this in a pocket or in part of their clothing so that as they walk around and move, then it crushes the leaf a little bit more and releases the smell. So you get an automatic cologne dispenser with you all day long. So those are a few of the plants that are really good for staying clean and fresh in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. There's plenty more where that came from, but that's all I have time for this week. So, as always, if you have any corrections, suggestions, or passing remarks, feel free to comment that down below. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, liking and subscribing always really helps me out. This video was made on behalf of the Gogopa Natural Habitat, a place looking to preserve a slice of Papua New Guinean highland forest for education, research, enjoyment, and to teach people to cultivate honey at the same time. A huge thank you to Kelly Enai for letting me stay here and supporting this project. If you're looking for a great place to volunteer as a researcher, carpenter, teacher, beekeeper, fish pond specialist, mushroom grower, or any of other numerous other specialties, this is a great place to do it. So stay tuned for more useful and otherwise interesting tropical plants of Papua New Guinea. Until next time on Ambling with Sam.